are listening to Around Comics, and you're also possibly watching Around Comics.
Kick in.
What's happening, fellas? I am Brian Salazar. This is Around Comics episode 384, where we talk about comics and stuff. Mm-hmm. I'm with Christopher Niesman and Tom Caters. We're all here at the same time, amazingly, even though I forgot to send you guys the link.
Yeah, we are all here because we're starting 15 minutes late, which means that Tom is technically on time.
Okay. Tom is on time. Well, actually, I always set it to 8:15, and then we usually start earlier. So I'm not sure
what the sleepy.
You get sleepy after 8 o'clock? Yeah. By 8:15?
Yeah,
old man.
It's hard for me to get up and yell at the paper boy at 4:15 in the morning for being late with my paper if I'm not in bed by 9.
You still get a paper is your first.
Yeah, is that clue number 1?
The milkman delivers.
Yeah. So, Paperboy, no longer a young kid on a actual bicycle. It is now a middle-aged, sad man in a beat-up car.
You don't know if he's sad. He could be fine with it. He's a paper man. Paperman. I am Paperman delivering just because, it's an honorable side hustle. Who knows? That's where what was his name? Puff Daddy got his start with Paper Route.
Nice. We should at some point talk about Paper Girls again because that series was so good.
I'd imagine it's probably going to be a TV show at some point. So
it probably may depend on how well Why the Last Man does. Same writer, right?
Sure, I know you've been wanting to talk about Why the Last Man a little bit.
Isn't Paper Girls going to be an Amazon show?
I would be shocked if it's not.
I can't. Yeah, all the announcements.
Yeah.
Yep.
Even though that one could be a big budget TV show. That would be a big budget TV show.
Yeah, it's gonna be on Amazon.
Yeah. It doesn't have to necessarily be. I mean, they could change things, keep it more Stranger Things-esque.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much.
I know that because I think they were filming some of it in Oak Park.
Oh, really?
A couple weeks ago, yeah.
No,
I can see that as very much as that the neighborhood that the Paper Girls would deliver papers in. It's maybe yeah. So
were you guys Paper Boy?
Was I a Paper Boy? Yeah. No, hell no.
The mean streets of Green Bay.
Paper Boy.
That would be in Green Bay, Wisconsin. That would be a hardcore job.
In the 90s?
Delivering their very thin newspaper.
Yeah.
It's mostly USA Today these days. It is mostly like the exact same content as USA Today.
Yeah. What is the Green Bay newspaper?
The Green Bay Press Gazette.
The Green Bay, yep. I thought it was the Gazette. So yeah. I'm a Milwaukee Journal Sentinel subscriber because I am old.
Wow. You get mad at the columnists and
Are you just looking at the obituaries, looking for your
classifieds?
I'm a curler, so I do have some friends in their 80s.
I gotta find a job. Time to hit the classifieds.
Get those Meyer coupons before we go to the pick and save. So anyway, Sal said it. This here is Around Comics. We talk about comics. I wanted to give you some big ups. Your new Patreon exclusive show, Origin Story, premiered this last week.
It did.
You had Mr. Tim Seeley on and talking about what got him over the hump of his first story.
Yeah, that was the sort of the genesis of this whole thing. Was I wanted to talk to writers, and at the end of the day, I want to feel better about myself. So, and because I'm
this is Sal's self-help podcast.
It really is.
I picked up on that, early.
This is my Mark Maron podcast, where I just sort of, use professional comic book writers as therapy in some way, and hopefully Tim was not much help to me in that regard because he was just sort of like, hey, no, yeah, I just jumped in and started writing, and and next thing I know, I'm writing 47 different comic books, and everyone loves me, and so that didn't help. And that's how it's probably going to go. This is probably going to be like the worst experience. Where they're all just going to be like, no, I had no issues. I wrote my first story at 11 years old, and it's just been a fucking, roller, just an absolute joyride ever since. And instead, I want like the misery of the classic, like alcoholic. I need some like classic alcoholic writers to just like give me their misery of being a writer, so I feel better about not being one.
We've got Andy Parks' number.
And he is but I had a really good time talking to Tim, and honestly I found out things about Tim that I did not know, even though we've talked to him a dozen times or more on the podcast. So I'm looking forward to doing that with some other people and getting to know them a little bit more, and just it's fun for me. I like to know sort of what makes people tick and what makes creative people tick. And I just like the idea of like going, okay, what was your first story that you kind of, broke out with? What was the one that you considered like, okay, now I'm a writer? And how did you get through that? How did you sort of get to that point? What made you want to be a writer? And then how did you get through that first script or story or whatever it may be? So hopefully the next guy I'm supposed to talk to is Al Ewing, one of my favorite current comic book writers. So I know he's pretty busy, but hopefully that'll be soon. I'll be talking to him and release that.
And I think we're speaking of Al Ewing, I think we are on track next week.
Yes.
Next week? Yes. Tom, next week.
For those that are listening and not just watching, our Trade Talk episode next week should be what is the book?
We only find them when they're dead by Mr. Al Ewing.
Yes.
Yeah. Sean Burris asks, whatever happened to Christian Alame? Right now, Christian is on vacation with his lovely wife and daughter in Paris, France.
He is in France. He has the French accent that all the ladies love.
I think Christian's still working. I don't know if he's. I don't know if comics are his full-time gig, but yeah, I think he's still doing some inking stuff.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Before we go too far, I wanted to give a shout out to our latest patron, Guy Brockington. I don't know if that's a real name. Dude,
I want that to be his real name.
Yeah, I want to subscribe to him.
I mean, and his email is it's like Brock Guy and then a number. So I'm thinking that's his actual name.
Guy Brockington, 1972 All NFL fullback.
Yeah, no shit.
Guy Brockington.
That's just a man you can trust, I think.
Yeah.
Guy Brockington. He's just a salt of the earth kind of fella. I think he's probably from like Ohio.
Mm-hmm. That's the name you know.
If my basement floods, Guy Brockington knows what to do.
I think Guy Brockington, he probably has like a Chevy dealership in the 50s.
Oh, yeah.
And an action figure.
What if it's Guy? Guy Brockington.
That's not nearly as cool.
Guy Brockington.
He's French Canadian.
Yeah.
But so thank you, Guy, for being a patron. We really appreciate you signing up and getting all the good stuff. And speaking of signing up, if you're a fan of the show, if you want to keep up to date on all the stuff that we're putting out and also some additional content, sign up for our Substack, aroundcomics.substack.com. Go there and sign up. It's free to subscribe to it, and I'm sending out all sorts of crap to your email box from there. Actually, I think it's pretty good stuff. Like even when I post the regular episode, like tonight's episode, I'll post on there a link to it, I should say. I try and add some other stuff, whether it's images or whatever it may be that we're talking about, more information about the books we talked about, that kind of thing. So extra stuff, bonus, free bonus content.
Bonus material. Speaking of material, we should talk about the comic material. And there's a book that Tom read that I actually wanted to get his thoughts on. It's the Garth Ennis book, the Temporal Thief.
Oh yeah, I read the first 2 issues of that.
I read the first issue.
Yeah.
Because I don't have it in front of me. What is the name of that again?
Marjorie Finnegan, Temporal Criminal.
Yes. Because it
It's
rhymes.
good. Yeah.
It was funny. It was. I mean, it's Garth Ennis being. I haven't seen a lot of Garth Ennis like sci-fi stuff. Most of the Garth Ennis stuff that I have read is either like his like World War II stories or his Punisher stuff. So him doing like a funny, gory sci-fi time series is a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's hilarious. The art is great. Mm-hmm. The art makes it, because if you had the wrong artist, I'm just going to make sure I pronounce this name correctly.
Yeah, I don't think
you caught me out. You caught me off guard.
So I made you go first. I made you go first this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
Goran Sudzuka.
Yes. It's this book could be really terrible if it had the wrong artist, because I think
Agreed.
The artist, in this case, it's really a case of like the art lets you know how serious you should be taking any of the jokes. As like if it was grittier, it might land a little weird, but because the whole tone of it is just very obviously comedic and the art's great, and it's just like you shouldn't take any of it entirely too seriously.
There's a little Steve Dillon going on with his art, but it is more comedic than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's not serious.
No.
Nor should it be, but it's always funny to think about, like, if you had a more serious artist drawing it, it could be kind of gruesome and kind of, it could be perhaps a bit much, but the whole tone of the art is pretty much like, don't take it too seriously.
Yeah.
This is not anything to, to carefully, consider the ramifications of it. It's pretty silly.
Yeah, we'll talk about Moon Knight in a little bit. But like the artist that's on Moon Knight right now would not be a good choice
no.
for this book. Or like Alex Maleev is not who you want to see on this book.
It's good. I quite enjoyed it. I'm going to keep reading it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm 1 issue in, and it looks like it's a 8-issue limited series.
I don't know. I guess we'll see. When I look for number 9. When I look for number 9 and doesn't exist.
Yes, 8 issue comes out in December, so you have until then to catch up on it.
Yeah.
I read the first 2 issues of this as well. I thought it was pretty good. Garth Ennis always does. I mean, he always has had a sense of humor in his work. Usually, it's pretty dark.
Yes.
Or twist. He's kind of but always a sense of humor, even in like some of the war stuff that he's done.
Yeah.
He's had
a singer here or there.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, I think the art kind of it's like when he's usually funny in other things, it's got like a little bit harder of an edge to it, and it's a little bit more gallows humor, a little bit more. Where I think in this case, the style of it's just much more like comedy, and when it is gruesome, it's comedic gruesome, and sort of like played much, much looser than I think when I think of sort of his sort of comedic elements and some of his other stuff.
Yeah, because I mean, Dylan could pull some stuff off in Preacher, but that's where I saw some similarities here. But this is even more on the
I mean, I haven't gotten farther than 2 issues in, so maybe at some point, what Preacher always had sort of like multiple currents of things going on, where it was sort of like there's a very serious element to it and a very emotional part of it, and also sort of a very comedically gruesome or sort of like a gross out element to it. So there's all these so there's always like these multiple things going on in this, and I think like tonally this is just much more
That's one of my favorite panels out of the entire first issue. Sorry, go ahead.
Where it's just like much more just the straight comedy elements of it.
Yeah, there's nothing serious about this book.
No,
zero. Yeah, it is all played for laughs. Yeah, and it's fun. It's published by Upshot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I have not read a ton of Upshot, but they've. I was looking at some of their offerings. They've had some pretty cool stuff out there.
Yeah, definitely like interesting books, interesting creators doing some interesting things.
Nice, very good. Yeah, so check that one out.
Marjorie.
Marjorie.
Is it Marjorie? Marjorie.
Marjorie. That's
Marge the Barge.
Marjorie Finnegan. It's hard. Marjorie's a tough name. When you Google Marjorie, you get a lot of weird shit right now.
Finnegan.
Yeah,
What's the first Marjorie that comes up in your Google search?
Oh, the QAnon one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I tried to forget about that fucking lunatic.
Yeah, so it's like not a great time to name your character Marjorie.
Sure. Yeah. Or Karen.
Yeah.
Speaking of lunatics, I think
also Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School.
Oh, there's that.
Yeah. Also the other, like, oh god.
Was Large Marge a Marjorie? Large Marge.
Yeah, wow.
Maybe a Marge. Yeah.
I always thought, yeah, Large Marge.
I never thought of her name. Was her full name Marjorie?
Is Marge always a Marjorie, or can a Marge be a Margaret?
Oh,
good question. This is
cutting edge radio.
Old timey names. Old timey name radio.
How is Large Marge spelled, with a G or a J?
Oh.
Let me check IMDb, guys.
We're IMDbing a 40-year-old movie.
We need the definitive answer. Pee-wee's big. Dude, that scene messed me up when I was a kid. It terrified me.
Large Marge?
Yeah.
Those cutting edge graphics.
What a weird, like, Beetlejuice-esque kind of... Well, I mean, the whole movie is weird, but that was a particularly weird... Actually, the whole concept of Pee Wee Herman becoming a kid show is fucking bizarre.
It's weird. A great movie. It was Napoleon Dynamite before Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah. So is it? Did we find? Is it?
I'm looking it up.
Okay.
I'll just call Tim Burton. I'm just going to call Tim Burton.
Yeah, give him a ring.
Oh yeah, Joe Glusick.
He's got a name.
What's your name, Joe? He mentioned that Large Marge made an appearance in Top 10. Alan Moore and Gene Haas. I'm gonna run with it.
That's interesting. I didn't. Yeah. I mean, that would make sense. It was a temporal. Well, Marjorie Finnegan could make a temporal.
Oh my God! Wait a second.
Top 10.
I know how what issue 8 is. She's gonna end up being Large Marge.
Yeah. Oh, that would make sense. She turns into Large Marge. That's why she has that weird face thing. It's some sort of like sci-fi future defense mechanism. Wow, we figured it all out. Garth Ennis,
figure it out.
A huge Pee Wee Herman fan.
Anyway, go watch Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Great movie.
After this, not yet. Wait. And then go.
There's no basement in the Alamo. All right. I was transitioning over to Moon Knight, which I think we all read. Unless we have a trailer that I think we wanted to watch as well. So.
Oh well, we can.
Your call.
Do that now, if you want. If you want to watch the trailer. Or we can do that after we talk about comics. Do you want to talk about all the comics we're going to talk about, and then watch the trailer, or split up? What?
Let's watch the trailer.
Oh God damn it, Chris! All right. Well, this is the trailer for the new Spider-Man movie that came out. I have not watched it. I'm assuming you guys have not watched it yet.
Coming in cold, baby.
We'll get a hot reaction, hot take on Spider-Man. No Way Home.
I think it's gonna suck.
All right, on the record.
Internet in half.
Here we go.
Oh, look at this.
Thought
This is a
that was
good
it
one.
for a second.
Some suggest that Parker's powers include the male spider's ability to hypnotize females.
Stop, come on.
Yes, my spider lord.
Can we just like stay up here all day? It is so
I
crazy
do
down
really
there.
like him.
That's right,
Oh,
folks.
Zendaya?
Spider-Man is in fact Peter Parker.
Listen, I did not kill Mysterio. The drones did.
The drones that are yours.
Does any part of you feel relieved about all this?
What do you mean?
Now that everybody knows you don't really have to hide or lie to people.
For the record, I never wanted to lie to you. But how do you tell someone that you're Spider-Man? Now everybody knows. But this isn't about me. This is hurting a lot of people. I've just been thinking about how to fix all of this.
So, Peter, to what do I owe the pleasure?
I'm sorry to bother you, sir.
Please, we saved half the universe together. I think we're beyond you calling me sir.
Okay, Steven.
That feels weird, but I'll allow it.
When Mysterio revealed my identity, my entire life got screwed up. I was wondering if maybe you could make it so that he never did.
Strange. Don't cast that spell. It's too dangerous. Fine. I won't. The entire world is about to forget that Peter Parker is Spider-Man.
Wait, everyone? Can't some people still know?
That's not how the spell works.
So MJ's gonna forget about everything we've ever been through?
Stop tampering with the spell.
Oh my God, Ned, he's my best friend. Oh, my Aunt May should really know.
Stop talking.
What just happened?
We tampered with the stability of space-time. The multiverse is a
I can't get
concept
over
about which
Benedict
we know
Cumberbatch's
plenty.
American accent.
The problem is you trying to live two different lives. The longer you do it, the more dangerous it becomes. Be careful what you wish for, Parker.
Hello, Peter.
In premium formats.
No, that looked great.
Oh, did we lose Sal?
If we did, we're screwed because he's the one that runs this
Oh
little
no.
hot dog stand. Tom, we're gonna have to talk about this together.
Sorry,
okay.
Okay.
We're good. We're okay. Sal's back.
I entered the multiverse there, I think.
Yeah. It did tear the internet in half.
Yeah.
An alternate universe where you have something better to do than this.
Yeah, no shit.
Benedict Cumberbatch should have used a mid-Atlantic Cary Grant.
Don't you think?
I'm Doctor Strange. It just sort of that weird,
There's something about the way he. I don't know. It's like not. I mean, I guess it's not what I think Doctor Strange would sound like.
Yeah, he sounds very just sort of. I mean, I don't know where that accent is from. It's not a New York accent.
Yeah, it's like a kind of like a little like
Midwestern.
something to it. Yeah, it's just like I don't know.
It's kind of a boring.
Yeah, I don't know. Like a mid-Atlantic. He should sound like George Plimpton. Like you should have like a real like mid. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's
the most notable mid-Atlanticer.
Yeah, like I'm just like that's like the kind of voice I expect Doctor Strange to have. And then combined with it's Benedict Cumberbatch, I'm always just like, oh yeah, that's Doctor Strange's strange voice.
It is like it takes a bit of the shine off of Cumberbatch. You know what I mean? Like he sounds so much cooler with the British accent. And then you take that off, it's like,
it's like, man,
kind of a weird looking dude. That
sounds like a dude. Sounds like my neighbor.
Yeah.
I'm Doctor Strange. You should have. What?
I'm Doctor Strange. Hey, I'm Doctor Strange.
Yeah, that's like the most.
Yeah. Hey, what's up? I'm Dr. Stephen Strange.
I'll allow it.
Yeah. He should just have an English accent. Just let him. Who cares?
Yeah, it could have had a British. Yeah, he has to be
American.
Where's
the quintessential American character?
Yeah.
Say like Captain America. He can say
like. I mean, he could be from wherever. I don't know. Like, yeah, where's Stephen Strange is supposedly from? Anyway,
from New York, right? Everyone, all those characters from
New York City. I'm Dr. Stephen Strange.
Oh, from Jersey.
God,
he just sounds like
Dr. Strange.
Tony Soprano.
Bucky. Yeah, I saw someone online because I had not seen the trailer yet. Someone described this as looking like the greatest like 1980s Marvel team up movie you could have asked for.
Yeah, I mean, well, it's interesting. It's not the first one, but it seems like after the whole multiverse thing, it's really leaning on that a bit, and the things just keep getting weirder in the MCU, and I like the idea of bringing back, that Dr. Octopus is interesting, and then obviously they're bringing back the other two. Tom Holland is going to be Peter Parker, but you're going to have appearances by
Tobey Maguire and is it Andrew Link or no
Garfield?
Andrew Garfield.
Yeah, Andrew Garfield.
So it's going to be a multiverse, Spider-Verse.
Hey, it worked for the cartoon.
Cartoon was awesome. The animated film was amazing. So
it is one of my favorite Marvel productions ever.
Right? Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. What if? Yeah.
So this looks fun, and I kind of like it's thing about Spider-Man is you love the stories where he's beating up common everyday criminals, but seeing him get so far in over his head is has always been the draw for that character. As cool as he is, it's whenever Spider-Man has to mess with like the cosmic stuff in Marvel Cosmic, where he's just completely outclassed power level, and that looks like kind of what this is.
Yeah, I mean you're right. Like he's a punching bag. He's always been sort of that character to some degree. It's like beat on him. He's always going to come back, and that's sort of one of his most redeeming qualities is that. It's his heart, right? Peter Parker has heart, man. He's from Queens or Brooklyn Queens, right?
He's from Queens. Yeah,
he's from Queens.
Tom Holland, and you have two British guys leading the cast, and neither of them have a British accent. They both have sort of mediocre. Although Tom Holland's American accent's pretty good.
It's pretty good.
I like him as Peter Parker. I have from the beginning. He's getting too old for the role real soon.
Still looks 14. I mean, my son's favorite Peter Parker is Tobey Maguire, and we constantly have arguments about it, which it just seems so weird to me that that's his favorite.
That's his number one.
That he is the best Spider-Man, according to him. He's the best Spider-Man. So, I don't know. We'll see, but yeah, we'll see what happens. I'm gonna go see it. Come on, Spider-Man.
Of course, absolutely.
Spider-Man. What if Spider-Man had a thick Queen's accent?
What if? Greg Porter says, oh well, I'm a sucker for a big budget comics film, but damn, this plot seems unnecessarily stupid. Hopefully it's set up better than the clip shows.
I don't know. They're all kind of stupid.
It's the moment of realization that you have where you're like,
I don't know,
explaining a movie to your wife and you love it, and then you're like, oh wow, that sounds fucking ridiculous.
It's like watching Infinity Gauntlet Endgame. I was watching it, and my wife's like, "What is going on?" And I'm like, "I barely understand myself."
Hold on by a thread, honey.
Don't think about it too hard. They're all going back in time.
The basic premise of this movie is that a kid got bit by a radioactive spider and didn't die.
Mm-hmm.
The idea that a spider could be radioactive and not die is
crazy. They're so small.
Yeah.
How radioactive was this spider?
Evidently just enough.
I mean, how fucked up is that some place just had like a jar with like, yeah, we blasted the spider with radiation and it's all weird and shit, but now we just got it. So yeah.
Well, I mean, we're experiencing a pandemic that may or may not have been
True.
a lab somewhere. So
someone was radiating bats. Now we just got a bunch of these fucked up bats. Now we got like this
more and more plausible all the time, doesn't it?
It's like, oh, that's just the weird spider. Why did someone fill it with radiation? I don't know. We just did it.
It was
We tried to make a spider, like a Hulk spider.
Gamma rays.
Now we just got this super radioactive spider hanging out. Has there ever been a Spider-Man story where they talk about how that spider got radioactive?
Well, I mean, the origin story is just it was in a lab. He went and visited on a school field trip, and it wasn't the spider. What happened was they were doing an experiment, and the spider
gets caught
through it, and then it lands on him and bites him, and it dies.
Okay. Yeah.
So it wasn't in the original.
The Tobey Maguire one, right?
Well, I think that was the original origin story as well in the comics. That, if I remember correctly, the Dick. I like.
All right, I'm gonna look it up. Either way, it's fucked up that there was a radioactive spider.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was the great Lee. I mean, Stan came up with the premise.
I know. It's like these great origins. It's like, he's got the best spider. I don't know. Now he's got spider powers, including the spider sense.
This high school kid gets bit by a spider, and the next thing he knows, he's climbing up walls. Yeah. He'll be Spider Kid.
And he can sense danger.
How many Marvel characters are their origin story is contact with something radioactive? You've got a Hulk, Spider-Man, all the Fantastic Four, Daredevil.
Radiation. It's the next great thing in comics.
It's anxiety, That's what people are. That's what people were afraid of.
Wayne
Jesus, I am
loves
correct.
His nuclear heroes.
Yeah, well, you got to remember though, it was the '60s, and like that was in movies everywhere. Like you had all those giant monster movies.
Yeah.
Sort of the thing. We were fearful of nuclear war for real, and it translated into fiction in a lot of ways of, especially science fiction. So yeah, it wasn't that far off of what everything else that was happening. Giant ants, them, and the 50-foot woman and shit like that. So Stan was just following the trend. I need radiated kids. Nobody's done radiated children yet.
I need to radiate them, and they need to be 14.
What about the X-Men? They just have it.
They just were.
They're
born.
I don't know. They're born. I don't care. Why are we bothering?
They are born radiated.
Yeah.
They were radiated in the. What do I know? All right.
I'm just making it up. I don't know. What is this?
I was gonna quit anyway.
Well, it's like I always think about like the mechanics of like putting together like a superhero story, like when you have to like bust them out like once a month, and like the Freedom Fighters issues I've been talking about. There's all this stuff where like they've just randomly given characters like powers when it like suits the story. Like,
nice.
I don't know, when we came here, now you can do this. I don't know. It's like got handed between three writers, and like the third writer's like, I guess this person now can like blind people. That's the thing they do now.
We need someone that can hold their breath.
Yeah, it's like, I guess now you do that and you do this.
Listen, I think sometimes we ask too many questions as fans. Just go with it. Just, suspension of
it's fucking stupid.
Yeah. I love going back to Marjorie Finnegan. I love that Ennis kind of like almost stops the story and goes on like this page and a half of her explaining how she has a device on her strapped to her ankle that doesn't allow for time to get fucked up.
Yeah, it unfucks time.
It unfucks time. And it's like, it's fucking comic books, man. Why can't I
Guess
do
what,
this? Because I
nerds?
got this thing that unfucks time.
Yeah, guess what, nerds? I solved it. There's a machine. But what if you? Yeah, it's essentially like shut up, nerds.
Yeah, it was great. Well, it was perfect. And so it was like, because it doesn't. That's
It
why.
doesn't. That's why.
Yeah.
I got a guy who has split personalities because that's so fun. Let's talk about Moon Knight. Did Stan invent Moon Knight, or is that someone else? I don't
Stan
remember.
invented all of them.
Yeah.
That's right, true believers.
My Moon Knight knowledge is pretty much with the artist, because we all know, Sienkiewicz. That's some of his. I'm going to turn around and look for old Marvel Adventures. I think
Created by Doug Mensch and
Doug
Don.
Munch.
But I was there, over their shoulder, looking, making sure they didn't screw it up.
It's like Batman. It's nighttime.
But he's white.
He wears white robes.
Oh, you like this? While I was looking for my old Moon Knights, this is a Bizarre Adventures, number 20. It's some good shaking in here, bud. This is the Dominic Fortune stuff that he did.
Oh yeah. I think
it's good shaking, man.
That's some good shaking in there, baby. Yeah, that is
not great, but the art's good.
Yeah,
the stories aren't great, but the art's good in those Dominic Fortune ones. They're okay. I mean, they're kind of fun, but they're like a throwback. Well, it's like his Black Hawk stuff.
Yeah,
which is good. It looks awesome, but I'm not crazy about some of the stories sometimes. But
before we talk about, I think this is old timey comic time now. Because we're looking at that stuff and talking about Moon Knight. Moon Knight has always been a character that he was like the cool cult B-list character that for us anyway, as Marvel kids, Tom, Moon Knight was always the super cool character. And then I think editors would say that don't put in a Moon Knight pitch because everyone pitches their great Moon Knight story. And we've actually seen some decent Moon Knight over the last few years. They almost like they shelved him for better part of a decade. And then we've seen some, 2 or 3 Moon Knight series in the last few years now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think like it ended in the 90s and then probably didn't pick up again until 2005 or 2006, something like that. And then you've had
Bendis did a run on it, right?
Yeah, I mean, he's always been around because he's been in other books and stuff, and I think Moon Knight still is just a odd character that
I like how weird he is.
He's very weird, and they're sort of leaning into that more. But I think for a long time they didn't like it wasn't. People weren't sure how to write him because it was like, okay, can we deal with the fact that he's insane? That he's and then they would change it where he wasn't necessarily insane, and the Fist of Khonshu or whatever, and all that kind of thing. And then
I remember the original ones, like back in the 80s, that he wasn't insane. Those were just 3 personas that he had, 3 lives that he could slip into. He's almost like a super spy who, also was the,
and then it became split personalities. Then it became this supernatural element, and so he's very sort of complicated and a little convoluted of a character. And I think like now they're sort of leaning into it a little bit more of like he's wacky. He doesn't even
goofy. Yep.
Yeah. He knows he is the Fist of Khonshu or whatever, and he is the high priestess of that church, but it's also confusing to him. I think there's a line in the first issue of this new series where it's like, my father was what did he say?
My father was a rabbi and I was a murdering mercenary. I'm full of contradictions.
Yeah, so it's like they're sort of really kind of leaning into the fact that he's a weird character for sure.
This is written by Jed McKay, by the way, and the artist is Alessandro Cappuccio.
Sure.
Cappuccio, gabagool.
Yeah, there's a lot of gabagool in that one. Yeah, it's a little bit of fun. It's got some kind of what we were talking about earlier. It has a few haha moments in there, but it's not a flat out comedy book. You know, there's the vampire doing like a
multi-level marketing.
It was it was some sort of pyramid scheme. It was like a self-actualization pyramid scheme, is what it called it, or something like that. And I giggled at that one. You know, but
it's what vampires are. They are the original multi-level marketing.
Yeah.
Come be immortal.
It is.
Yeah, there's some downside. You can't see the sun ever again, and you have to drink blood, but you live forever, and
no garlic.
No garlic in your pasta, and you can't enjoy Italian food any longer. But hey,
that's forever.
It's okay. Live forever.
There's almost like a little bit of Hellblazer in this. It's kind of got the demonic monster of the week feel to it, and he's this supernatural protector of this neighborhood. There's almost that feel to it, and kind of the quirky monster aspect. But yeah, it's a little bit of fun. It's a little B movie monster stuff. I enjoyed both the first and second issues. They're kind of trying to reinvent the Moon Knight world a little bit with the who's the guy that's trying to correct his behavior. It's the if Moon Knight is the right hand of Khonshu, this guy is the left.
Yeah. I can't remember his name now. Off the top
Moon Hunter.
Moon Hunter, is that what it is?
Hunter Moon.
Hunter.
Either way, I enjoyed it. I mean, I'll be honest, I don't know anything about Moon Knight because he's always seemed like a character that, like you said, he is both schizophrenic in the comics, and also nobody really knows what to do with him.
I'll put it this way to you and all DC fans: his origin story almost on par with Hawkman.
Yeah,
that's what Wayne just said. You're reading Wayne's. You just
Oh God, Jesus, Wayne, I did not see that. I was just thinking I was thinking of convoluted origin stories. So Wayne and I are of one mind there.
Yeah, but it seemed like, if you asked me what I thought Moon Knight, I was like, he seems like a cool character that no one knows what to do with him after 6 issues. Where it's like, okay, we told this story.
Mm-hmm.
Now, he's still around. So,
and I think that's fine.
Yeah, and I enjoyed him. One thing that I guess I enjoyed the more monster of the issue stuff than I did the various villains lurking in the background. I like the idea of a janitor taking over a building by feeding everyone his sweat.
That was the Hellblazer thing for me. That felt like a Hellblazer moment. You can imagine a demon that mind controls people with their sweat. I mean, that's a very Hellblazer thing.
I was almost disappointed that they introduced the whole Moon Hunter character, and it's this is going to have sort of a larger overarching story. It's just do Monster of the Week. You know what I mean? You're the protector of the night. I don't need much more than that. I don't need it to be more than that necessarily. Just be Monster of the Week. If it runs 2-3 issues of that, some weird shit happening in the city, just let them deal with whatever supernatural bad stuff that's going on that day, and move on to them.
More of a slow burn if you're going to have that character pop up. Because then there was another shadowy figure.
Lots of shadowy
figures. Yeah. I was like, wait a second, how many villains are lurking in the background of this? Where I was like, just get back to the vampires.
And that is what I love about some old Marvel comics and DC, is that there would be like these foreshadowings of these, mysterious shrouded figures, and sometimes they would never pick that storyline back up.
Yeah, and just disappear or never come up again, or be like a year.
Just-
But it's
they
like,
got busy.
it's like I much preferred the sort of the Monster of the Week stuff, where I was like, oh, this is cool, I like this, and then like the other elements too, I was sort of like, okay, like I guess part of it's like it's always tough. I think it's always hard to like bring a character back and at the same time be like, here's his arch nemesis at the same time, where it's like, especially if it's someone new. Mm-hmm. Right, where you're supposed to be like, this guy is the guy, like this is his evil counterpart, and it feels like a lot. Like you're asking a lot of the story to make you like care about this bad guy a ton. When the Khonshu stuff maybe isn't the thing that everybody is that super interested in. But I mean, I did enjoy it. Yeah, that was the only thing about it that I was kind of like, kind of wish it was just simple, like stuck to the janitor mind controlling people with sweat and multi-level marketing vampires.
And one of the vampires, ends up being his personal assistant.
Yeah, and that stuff I thought was pretty. I thought it was pretty cool. I like they dressed him in like a suit, as opposed to like. I guess I've always also kind of thought the Moon Knight costume is sort of like a weirdo, like. Can never quite figure out like how it works, and like it's just like all white, like a bunch of white robes. I thought like putting him in a suit was actually kind of cool. And I was like,
that's his his business attire.
When he's doing it
out in action.
So I'm gonna keep reading it because I enjoyed
Warren
it.
Ellis? Was that Warren Ellis who did that to him? Or
guy gave him a suit?
Because that wasn't this run that he. That started a while ago where he was wearing a suit.
Oh,
nice. I'm happy that someone did that.
Yeah, I need to go and read that Avengers run. Joe Galuzik mentioned Jason Aaron's handling of him in the Avengers. I assume that's who was writing the Avengers. Apparently, Khonshu tries to destroy the world or take the world over or something.
I gotta agree with you, Tom. I think I liked Moon Knight before they introduced all the Khonshu stuff, and then my interest sort of waned. Like I didn't find that I didn't necessarily need him to have a more, intricate backstory necessarily. I don't know that character at all, and I don't know if it still helps the character, like that whole link, to. Ancient Egypt and that kind of thing. It's like maybe he just likes dressing up like, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. I don't know that it actually made the character any more likable or interesting to do that. So yeah, I almost kind of feel like Marvel is big on gender swapping and just sort of recasting their characters. It's like maybe it's time to do that with Moon Knight. Like let's get a completely different character that is Moon Knight, and
you can do it. It's a mantle, right?
Yeah, well, if you stick with the whole Fist of Khonshu thing, he could die, and it could be passed on to someone else, or that kind of thing. Maybe.
I mean, the Hawkman parallel is funny because Hawkman also has a bunch of fucking Egyptian
weird shit,
bullshit that's like hard to like. It's like it's tough. To put that on a character, it's tough to be like he's the fist of this other thing you've never heard of, and it's like a hat on a hat, It's like okay, like who's this? I don't know who this is. It's one thing when it's like
he is the fist of it.
Yeah, it's like one thing when it's like it's like Shazam, right? Where Shazam, it's like Hercules, it's like touched upon, but it's not like built into the story. And it's all things you've heard of. But then when it's like Khonshu, like who the fuck's Khonshu? Like did you make that up? It's just like a weird. It would work better if it was like a thing, and then you can lean on that sort of like prior knowledge. But it's always like yeah, it's like putting a hat on a hat. It's like I'm already trying to figure out what the fuck's going on, and
let's play a little game here. I got a list of Moon Knight's rogues gallery in front of me. This is from
God.
Oh shit. Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of any of these villains.
What series did Moon Knight first appear in? Before you do that.
Someone already wrote that in the comments. Werewolf by Night.
Damn it, they're way ahead of me. Yep.
You can't. All right, so this is some of his rogues gallery. Master Sniper. Have you ever heard of Master Sniper?
No. Let me. I guess
that does sound like a.
I'm not just a sniper.
Master Sniper.
Come on, Masters.
The Scarlet Nuns. Have you heard of the Scarlet Nuns? How about Chainsaw?
Okay, cool. I'm into that.
The Great Wall.
No. Is that a Chinese villain?
Oh, you know it is. You know it is. And he's big.
How about Ernst the Nazi King? I don't know.
Okay, interesting.
The Zapata brothers.
I'm just going to say right now that Marvel needs its own version of the Suicide Squad because we need to erase some of these characters.
The Punk Ghost Gang.
The Punk Ghost. Oh, I'm into that, dude. I don't know what that is, but I love the idea of the Punk Ghost Gang. Punk.
I want
a bunch of ghosts of punks.
I don't know. There's no actual link. They don't even have a Wikipedia page. That's how
Okay, I'm into them.
Yeah, I don't know who they are. Dead Zone, Agony. I think I've heard of Agony. Bluebeard, Black Spectre 1, Black Spectre 2.
Oh, Agony. I guess I'm not a fan of like the abstract concepts as like characters. Like whenever like Eternity shows up in something, I'm like, okay, fine, whatever. You know, like Agony. Yeah, all right.
Scourge. Well, Hellbent. How about that? That's sort of an abstract.
That is absolute, yes.
And then there's Tatterdemalion.
Okay.
I don't know who
Punk Ghost Gang for life. That's me.
Yeah. The Stained Glass Scarlet. These are some of the worst villains I've ever heard. The Slayers Elite. The Seekers. Yeah, these are all horrible. I don't know.
I made fun of the Great Wall, assuming that it was probably problematic.
Yeah, the Zapata brothers, the Great Wall.
Yeah, it's basically a lot of characters that would never get through editorial today. No. Yeah, I don't think I need to go back and read any old Moon Knight comics. I have a feeling they need to stay in that special nostalgic corner of my mind. Just how they are.
Did he fight Werewolf by Night?
Yeah, he was originally a villain in Werewolf by Night.
How about Dancin' Macabre? An exotic dancer and devoted worshiper of the god Shiva. She first appeared in Marvel Team Up 93, May of 1980. She used her powers to hypnotize Spider-Man into battling the Shroud in an attempt to kill both of them. The pair managed to overcome her dances and defeat her.
Was that written by Don Glut?
I don't know.
I always thought Werewolf by Night was like a weird name because it's like, yeah.
When else?
Well, of course he is. Of course he is.
Yeah.
Werewolf by day?
Yeah. By day? Yeah, of course it's a werewolf by night.
It's not called Morning Glory.
Oh, it works, man.
Let's see. Marvel Team Up number 93 was written by Stephen Grant. Penciled by Tom Sutton and Carmine Infantino.
Ooh, wow. Find me some Punk Ghost Gang. I'm going to look.
The Punk Ghost Gang. I don't know who the hell.
All right, I got to do my own research on Punk Ghost Gang. Oh, no. I'm going to look up Great Wall and I'm going to be like,
well, while you are doing that, sir, I was going to mention Patreon again. We're creeping up on an hour here, so
I haven't even got to talk about my comic book yet. You're not
no, we'll do that. I'm sorry.
No, just settle down, sir. Settle down. I read a book I really liked. It was an interesting book. It was called Second Chances. from Image Comics, and it's about a dude named LeBlanc who runs this sort of hotline for people in trouble, and then he sets them up with like a second life. That's kind of the elevator pitch, but the actual book is much different in the sense that it really starts in the middle of a story. I mean, it comes in sort of, guns a-blazing and things are happening, and it's a very fully formed world where a guy who once saved his life calls him and is in trouble. He's in it looks like some sort of apartment complex or a hotel room or something, high-end hotel room surrounded by dead bodies with a smoking gun in his hand. And he calls LeBlanc and says he needs help. Or actually, he doesn't say he needs help. He says, "Tell my daughter that I loved her." And LeBlanc's like, "No, you're not. I'm going to get you out of this." And he goes after him, and then he's too late. Some assassins come in, and it's a really wild story. The writer is a guy by the name of Ricky Mammone or Mammone.
Mm-hmm.
The art is by an Italian artist named Max Bertollini. In the back of the book, they both have really interesting sort of quotes and things they say about the book. Ricky it compares it to sort of, or his influences for it are like Godard and Truffaut, like French New Wave directors, and you can absolutely feel that in the book. The character LeBlanc feels like he's out of sort of Breathless or one of those French New Wave films, the black and white crime stuff, and the whole book has that feel to it.
It looks beautiful.
Artistically, it's gorgeous. Max Bertollini just kills it. I've never seen his work before, but he murders it. And it's that same, it has that sort of super hip. The character LeBlanc is very cool and hip, but also very caring. Like he does this job, but he does it for people that he thinks needs it. So it's like he's not necessarily doing it for bad people. And I feel like that's a very sort of French New Wave thing. Like a lot of the characters were very cool, very hip, and even though a lot of them were maybe criminals to some degree, they had like a romance about them. They had a very romantic bent to them, and a very kindness to them in some ways, or some sort of passion to them, where that's why you like them even more so. And this character has that as well. But it was just a knockout first issue of something that, very different. And I was going to say Bertolini, he has this quote I read about him where he basically says that like this was a fever dream that came to him. Like the art is not something, it was like inspired, through something metaphysical. It's very interesting.
Wow.
Listen to him talk about the work. It's like, and
Europeans.
Both of these guys, I would say, like, if I just read what they were saying, like quoting, like not quoting, but like bringing up Godard and Truffaut and French New Wave when you're talking about a comic book, and the artist talking about sort of like some sort of fever dream inspiration, I would be like, this is the most pretentious pair of creators I've ever heard in my life. But then I read the book and I'm like, all right.
I see it. Yeah.
Maybe they're onto something here.
Nice.
It was really good. It was really good first issue. So looking forward to more from the pair of them.
Speaking of stuff that you like, real quick shout out. You turned me on to a novel earlier this year, The Rook by Daniel O'Malley.
Oh yeah,
I just finished up the Audible presentation of it, and it was great. Started out, super neat concept of basically a woman who wakes up with no memory. And over the course of the next few hours, she discovers that she, or the person that she was, worked for an international paranormal agency, kind of like the BPRD, but more political and then that's kind of the hook, and then it turns into espionage and sci-fi and fantasy, and it dips a little bit in the middle, but it finished really, really strong. So Sal, I don't want to give away any of it because it's basically a murder mystery with all of those other elements, and so everything is a spoiler. But yeah, I really enjoyed it.
I haven't actually finished reading it. Someone recommended it to me, a friend of mine, and as soon as I started reading, I mean, I was like a page in, I'm like, oh, this is a book for Chris. Like that was everything you like. I'm like, this is right up your alley, probably more so than mine.
Female-led espionage, sci-fi, fantasy, murder mystery, kind of just ticked almost all of the boxes.
It's like it's a TV show in the making. I would be shocked if someone didn't make that into a TV show for some very talented young actress to get an Emmy nomination for, because it's a great concept. I mean, it's a awesome, and then there's just a lot of places you can go with it, and I could see it being like a Killing Eve sort of TV show, which is great TV.
I mean, that's your next HBO Westworld type book or series. Yeah, but yeah, dug it. So thank you. Now I have to find something else to listen to.
I don't know. I don't know. Ready Player 2.
We'll see. I'll let it get some. Yeah. Are we good? Have we covered everything for the week? Once again, I want to thank the folks that are on the live stream, chit-chatting in the comment section.
Yes. Always
there. I know they're contributing to the show. I love the interaction.
Thank you for being here.
Yes. Sal and I and our good friend Will Pfeiffer just did our second episode in the K. Billy Super Sound series, where we're going through every Quentin Tarantino movie directed or screenplay written for. So we did True Romance this week. So if you want to listen to two really smart film guys talk about stuff and hear me confuse Daryl Hannah and Patricia Arquette, it's a great listen.
Yeah,
because that happened.
That did. And I was really confused. I'm like,
what are you talking about?
Yeah, and Will is like, are you talking about Daryl Hannah? I'm like, yeah. So and they're just in this really intense discussion about the merits of this scene and the motivation here and so I bring that level of.
I was very pleased with myself in that episode of impressing Will with my.
You changed Will's opinion of that movie a little bit.
I kind of expanded his thought process on that movie. I was very happy. I was like, okay, I'm good. I'm done.
You did it.
I did it.
Yeah, I win.
Yeah, exactly. I win.
I beat you.
Yeah, and while you were doing that, I was like looking at IMDb and it's like, fuck, it was Daryl Hannah. So that's some of the fun stuff you get on the Patreon network, patreon.com/Sharon Comics. Sal's been crushing it with the Big Geek Show. If you want to hear Old Man Yells at Cloud.
Oh, I ranted. I did my first rant episode today about comic book convention goers. It was a rant for sure.
Yeah.
Yes, if you want to hear me yell about people on the Big Geek Show.
That sounds good.
It's basically what you record like in the car on the way to work, right?
Yeah, it's little road rage. I have this little microphone and a.
That's what you should call it. You should change it from Big Geek Show and just call it
Road Rage.
Well, normally I don't honestly rage that much in the show, but there was something that came up this week with Tom King. Had an incident at a comic convention over the weekend, so I gave my take on it. And and it wasn't as polite as Tom's take on it.
And Tom was, he was very polite.
He was pretty polite, but
yeah.
So I did some ranting and raving.
And, good.
I don't understand comic book fans all the time, so.
Yeah, and then Tom got some Tom versus Freedom Fighters, so check that out, and yeah, so fun stuff there. Sal's been working, putting out a lot of content. Sean Wheatley, yes, people suck except you guys. Thank you, appreciate it, and thanks for the suggestion on Last Days of John Lennon by James Patterson. I may check that out as my next audiobook.
I have emails.
Oh, great. Okay.
We sent emails. Give me just a second here. I even wrote myself a reminder. I didn't want to forget. We had a couple of good emails, so I want to get to those before we cut it off here. Okay, the first one is from Derek Burke, who is he's a Patreon member and a big fan of the show.
Yeah, thanks, Derek.
Tom, Chris, and Brian, just wanted to send a quick thank you all for all the great content, especially as a patron. I gladly pay for your extra shows and appreciate that you make it well worth $5 a month. Tom and Chris's shows are always entertaining. I happen to have the first 5 issues of the Freedom Fighters and have been reading along, and I'm loving Brian's seemingly endless supply of new shows, especially the Return of the Big Geek Show. The work you guys put into each and every episode does not go unnoticed, and I'm hoping for another nice long run of Around Comics. Thanks for podcasting again. My feed would be depressing without you guys in there nearly every day. Peace, Derek Berkey, not Burke. P.S. Thanks to Brian for talking about Have Gun Will Travel. I've been on the lookout for the old TV Western, and this seems to be exactly what I was searching for.
There you go.
Hell yes! Have Gun Will Travel is awesome. I watch it every single night. I watch an episode of it. It's a great old television.
How many episodes did they make?
Well, they were making like 32 episodes a season, and there's like 7 seasons. There's like, I don't know, 100 and something episodes. So there's a lot of episodes.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how they did that back in the day, but they did. So there, yeah. Thank you very much, Derek, for that.
That's awesome to listen to and hear, and it does keep us going. And I got no plans to stop doing this. Sal's gonna fire me at some point, but
fired.
Like, how can I fire you?
Just stop sending me the link every Tuesday.
I thought it was up. It didn't work.
We got a new Chris.
We got a new but really, thank you so much for sending that email, and we're glad that you are digging all the Patreon stuff. I just figured I'd keep putting stuff out until somebody said either they liked it or hated it. So I keep trying.
Well, we're done now.
Until someone was like,
Eric liked it. We're done. On to
please
the next
stop.
one.
Until someone's like, why are you doing this?
Why? I have another one here. This is from Mike Parks. He said, "Hey guys, I wanted to reach out after listening to Sal's great discussion about Tim Drake's bisexuality. This was on a previous episode of the Big Geek Show for Patreon listeners. You can probably tell by my email address I'm a big Tim Drake fan. His email address is redrobin blah 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 blah. I'm 40 years old now, but I was about the same age as Tim was being written when his first Robin series appeared in the 90s. Tim was my conduit into the DC universe, and since then I've come to love a lot of different DC characters, but Tim still holds up as my favorite. It's honestly been a frustrating experience to be a Tim Drake fan since the New 52 reboot, where DC saw fit to unnecessarily change his whole origin story. Yep. When that didn't work, they changed it back during James Tynion's run on Detective Comics. Then he appeared in the new incarnation of Young Justice, where they gave him a new look and codenamed, lamely called Drake. And when that also didn't work, he simply went back to being Robin during an off-panel exchange. When I read about his newly revealed bisexuality, it made me even more frustrated because it seems like DC has absolutely no idea what to do with him. I can't say I was actually angry until I read some of the accolades DC was getting from comic book media and LGBTQ media sites alike. I'm not angry about Tim's bisexuality, but I'm angry because I feel like this is an empty gesture on DC's part, using a character I've loved for decades. DC gets rewarded in the media for making Tim bisexual, but are they gonna actually do anything significant with him now, or will he just be put back on the shelf again? None of the articles that I had read, having written high praise for DC, asked what should be the most basic follow-up question. Now that you've brought major attention to Tim's character, where will you be featuring him? That's what pisses me off. P.S. Please tell Tom he's doing an awesome job with Tom versus the Freedom Fighters and me and my wife Jennifer. For me and my wife Jennifer, he's keeping our marriage afloat. LOL.
Oh,
so
damn, okay. That's a lot of responsibility, but
yeah, I think
I
that's
agree with everything he said.
I think it's a very reasonable response, and that was sort of the gist of my Big Geek Show episode that I talked about. It is that I think there are some legitimate reasons why people could be upset or not like the idea that Tim Drake is bisexual, and it doesn't have anything to do with being a homophobe or not liking the fact that he's bisexual, and so that was sort of what I talked about. So it's
if you're going to go out of your way to change a character's origin story to make a more diverse lineup of characters in your catalog and show diversity and inclusion, don't do it as an empty gesture.
Right, and that's what he said.
Write more stories with that character now. So
because
totally
it doesn't, because otherwise it's just lip service. You're just pandering and sort of playing some sort of game where you're like, well, we're going to look good about this, but if you don't actually do anything interesting with the character or make him prominent in some way, then what have you really accomplished for anyone? I don't know. Yeah, so that's an interesting point from Mike.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
That's all. I think that's all I have.
Is that it? Is that what we got?
Yeah.
All right. Cool.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
As always, you can contact us at info@Around Comics if you have comments or questions or things you'd like to give us feedback on. So thank you so much, guys, for doing that.
Good. All right, guys. Always fun. I'm actually going to be in Chicago this weekend curling. If anyone wants to come out and check it out. Tom, I can see you. We're on video. I can see you roll your eyes and shake your head. That is like, yeah, that's not happening. So that's where I'll be this weekend.
I don't know if I
know.
But I honestly don't know if I can this weekend. It's my daughter's birthday is tomorrow, and then she's having a party Saturday, and so I don't know.
We'll see. Hopefully I'm curling on Sunday, because that means we've been winning. All right, folks. We have all sorts of things to do, like curl this weekend, but we'll be back on next Tuesday to talk more about comics and comic culture stuff and all the other Patreon stuff that you heard about. We'll be doing that. In the meantime,
in between time,
we'll be everywhere in
and
around
comics.
Everywhere.